Gentlemen, the time has come once again to discuss things.
Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Geeky Gentlemen. I am Sid Partu. Joining me today is Rasco of Rasco's Modern Life. Before we get started announcing the topic and everything of this episode, just want to let you know that you can download episodes of Geeky Gentlemen now. There are links in the description for downloading this episode. Episodes are posted as at the same time that they are on YouTube, and you can download those and listen on the go. Download the audio, that is, and listen on the go. Old episodes of Geeky Gentlemen can be posted by request. Just leave a comment on the old episode you want posted, and I will do it and link it up for you and all that jazz. All right, anyway, all that being said, Rasco, what are we talking about this week?
Today we're talking about a fan film that is called Truth in Journalism.
Yes, and this is like the first time we've kind of, sort of, but not really gone back to a franchise. Because we talked about a Spider-Man fan film. This isn't a Spider-Man fan film. It's a Venom fan film, but he's obviously a very Spider-Man character. Spider-Man doesn't show up in this, so I don't think we quite hit the same franchise. Not 100%, but we're really close right now. We're kissing the same franchise. That's what we're
licking
doing.
Its fucking butthole is what we're doing.
Yeah, giving that franchise a nice Remy.
Yeah.
So now that we've alienated all the new viewers... feel like I'm doing a video with Milan. Now that we've alienated all the new viewers. So you'd seen this before you picked it, or no?
No, I'd seen it one time. So I literally saw it like last weekend before we recorded the last episode. And then the next day we recorded the last episode, but I had just seen this fan film the night before. Okay,
I gotcha. So this is an interesting piece of work. This is done by the same guy that did Punisher Dirty Laundry, which is a very famous fan film.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you can look on his channel. I think it's also the same one that did that like gritty Power Rangers one, too.
Oh.
So this is a guy who is, or well, at least they're all on that channel. I think it all says like Bootleg Universe, so I think they're all done by like the same team to one regard or another. So yeah, take that how you will.
Okay.
And this is an interesting beast, and I guess I would hesitate to call this a Venom fan film so much as it is an Eddie Brock fan film.
Yeah, I mean, if we just want to go ahead and get right into it, this, for me, I think this might be my favorite fan film that we've done so far.
Really? I don't know how I feel about it yet. I really like things about it, but other parts of it are kind of like... It's like, I have this feeling that the more we're going to talk about this, the less I'm going to like it.
Mm-hmm.
Because just as I've watched it like 2.5 times now, and I'm just trying to get my head around certain plot points, and so maybe since you like it so much, you'll be able to help me understand things better, or you'll just break down and admit it's awful. Who knows?
Alrighty then.
But let's start out positive. What did you like about it?
So for starters, I think this is maybe one of the best written, if not the best written fan film, purely from just a dialogue standpoint. The actor who plays Eddie Brock is really good, I think. And this also checks this checks the box of how to utilize the fact that you have no budget, by like absolutely embracing the fact that you have no budget, pretty much. And and I'm assuming this doesn't have like a very huge budget. I'm just assuming that. I could be wrong, but
if they did have a budget, they probably blew it all on the actor, which is a pretty good way to go.
Yeah. So like I think that this fan film, like I always talk about, like how when you set out to make a fan film, one of the most ideal ways you can go about doing it is just to do something that at no point does it look like you're incapable of actually achieving visually. And this is that exactly. Like, this is just the exact... You take the idea of, okay, we want to make a fan film. How can we, like, actually make something interesting that's not hindered by its budget?
Yeah, I tend to agree. I mean, the Venom, when we finally do get Venom, it is arguably the worst looking part of the thing, but not to the point where it's, like, just laughable. It just clearly doesn't look like they had the budget to really go all out with that. I don't know, I tend to agree. I think it utilizes its budget fairly well. I guess my problem with it, though, is doing the research on this, because I really got a sense about it, and I wasn't surprised doing some research what I found out. This is basically plagiarism.
Really?
Yeah, there's another film that's called Man Bites Dog, and it's about a cheap French documentary film crew following around like a yellow journalist. And, like, it makes very direct reference to it. But they follow around a yellow journalist, and, like, the catchphrase of the movie is cinema! And, like, he offers to help fund their project. And I guess where it diverges is they accept his funding and then get kind of, like, pulled deeper into it. Whereas these guys reject Eddie. And so, like, while the dialogue's definitely the best part and the most interesting aspect of all this, and all the little references are really cute too, I'm just kind of left with, like, it seems like a really interesting, unique, original take, except that it's not, because it's plagiarism.
So this is gonna be that's tough, because I'd have to see the other thing that you're talking about, because that's happened before. And people are aware of things like that, but that aren't considered plagiarism. Like, so Reservoir Dogs, it's literally a plot from like this weird like Japanese action movie called like City on Fire or something like that. It's literally the exact same plot, just like stripped from the movie and presented in a little bit different of a like pace. But it's like, if you explain the plot, even down to specifics like how a certain character shoots this one police car. Like, it's literally the exact same thing. And that's a case of, like, I don't think Quentin Tarantino was trying to hide the fact that was pretty much all ripped from that. Like, I think that he was...
Yeah, I agree. It's a fine line, and the difference between plagiarism and heavy homage, I guess, just comes down to how well did you do it? Like, did you do enough to make it unique and make it your own, or are you just capitalizing off of what was good about the original and then putting your name on it, right?
Yeah.
And, like, I don't know with this, because the dialogue is damn brilliant. I really like, although the subtle nods to, like, I'm eating my sins for that, pun intended, like, that was really clever, reference to Eddie Brock's past. And then you, like, see the Sin Eater body count up to 10 on the newspaper in the room. And you see all these other things, and, like, there's a lot of really clever things. So I'm tempted to say the dialogue and everything makes this its own. But then I'm left, like, questioning other things about this. For example, like, what the fuck is Eddie doing with these guys?
I think it's like a German, isn't it like presented like as it's like a German documentary?
French, yeah.
Okay. I think that they are exchange students working on some sort of like project, and like it might have something to do with journalism. So like their whole trip is like they go to New York and meet with and they meet with Eddie Brock, and he's going to take him around the city and like show him what he does, I guess, something like that.
Well, no, what they're doing is they're filming a documentary on the report. Like, do you know much about like Eddie Brock's original origin in the comics?
No, I don't.
Okay, I'll go through this as quickly as I can. So Eddie Brock was a journalist covering a serial killer named the Sin Eater, and he was like posting these phone interviews in the Daily Globe, I think it was called, in the Daily Globe paper, and then it got revealed, Spider-Man revealed that, or like actually caught the real serial killer, and Eddie had just been doing interviews with this like serial confessor, just one of those guys who always confesses to crimes because they want the attention. So Eddie's career was wrecked, and then he had to start doing, just National Enquirer-style journalism to pay the bills, and he was really embarrassed and grew to hate Spider-Man, and then walks into the church, gets bonded with the symbiote, yada yada. Yes. Everyone knows it from there. Yeah. So what they're doing here is this film crew is following Eddie around to try and get information on his side of the story of what happened with the serial killer and all that.
Okay.
The problem, like, I understand why they're doing it. I don't understand what the hell Eddie is doing, because if he's trying to use these guys to clear up his name, he's not talking about his side of the serial case, and he's showing that he's an unethical journalist, that he let some dude die for the story, and he knew they were filming. And then like he shows that he's crossing police tape and like intentionally breaking journalistic ethics. So he's not doing it to get his name cleared. He's just, if anything, confirming that he has no journalistic standards.
I mean, so the only thing I could think of to respond to that would be, so two things. One, it could be a matter of like he just doesn't even realize how unethical everything he's doing is.
True.
Which in its own way is kind of scary. And the other thing could be that, shit, I can't remember what I was about to say.
Well,
but, I mean, it's possible that he's not even aware of how horrible the stuff that he's showing them is.
Yeah, and I mean, if he's clearly already bonded with the symbiote, so his perception of reality is clearly tainted at that point. But again, that doesn't really solve the problem of what he thinks he's doing with them. I don't understand what he's getting out of having them around besides just having people to monologue to. And then there's other weird things, like this does the found footage thing. It does the found footage thing in a really weird way, because it's clearly edited found footage. So one, if they just didn't ever finish cutting the film, then how come it has, opening credits and music and titles, and then they die toward the end?
Because afterwards, someone came in to clean the apartment, they got the camera, they took the camera, they made they finished the whole thing, and yeah.
They finished the whole thing and added all this, spiced up editing and 80s music to it?
Yes, they finished it.
You're seeing my problems with it, though, right?
No, yeah.
The more you think about it, the more you're like, what?
You're right. It's weird, because this is, this fan film succeeds in, so many of the ways that fan films are typically just oh, okay, it was serviceable or whatever. And this fan film, it strives in those areas. But then at the end of the day, you are right there. And those are all issues, though, that are not unique to this. Those are unique to so many different found footage movies.
Yeah, certainly. But I'm just saying, if they kind of do, for example, with the music, they kind of have 1 foot in, 1 foot out with the music, because sometimes they're able to integrate the music and give it this 80s feel, which is, I really like that decision to give it a very 80s tinge to it. They're able to integrate the music by just having someone playing it around them.
Yeah.
But then other times, that's clearly not the case, and it's clearly supposed to have been edited in after the fact. And so there's a disconnect there. And then like with the fact that it's found raw footage or whatever, all Blair Witch style, it's clearly been at least cut and edited to a point. And then there's weird stuff, like, I don't understand why the stinger scene is a stinger scene and isn't just in the movie.
Wait, what are you talking about in particular?
The whole thing with Bullseye.
Okay.
I don't understand why that's at the end. It feels very out of place to me to put it at the end and not just at some point in the narrative.
I don't know exactly why they randomly chose to do that there either.
Like, it feels like they're trying to do the MCU thing of, like, setting something up, but in the narrative of this being a found footage film, doesn't... And, like, sometimes, you know, I feel like people take the name of the quote-unquote found footage genre too seriously. Not always does it have to be found, but this is clearly a case where it was supposed to have been, because they're just indications that it was an unfinished product. Like Chronicle, it doesn't all have to be found footage. It's just we're seeing this world through the perspective of cameras. This is clearly supposed to be found, and that's like that starts to break down for me.
Yeah, that's fair as well. You know, part of why I liked this so much, even despite all the issues that you're throwing out, is partially just because I think it sounds like I really want like a show about this now. Like
about like Eddie Brock, or
it could be about Eddie Brock. It really could. I wouldn't have an issue with that, but I really do like the idea of just like you follow a small time reporter in like the MCU, and because there's like little cool things where like where Bullseye, he has like Elektra's Psy and stuff like that. Where it's like, if you know that stuff, you're like, oh, okay, I know why he has that. But then, like, at the same time, it's like you're just seeing it from the perspective of just a random dude in the MCU, and I really like that.
Yeah, I could see that. Like, that'd be a fun, like, Ben Urich story or show if we hadn't already killed him or something like that. I could see that. And, like, that's the thing is, I think this is doing kind of that Batman v Superman thing, I think, where you're just seeing so many little cool things that we've never seen on screen before. And it's acted pretty well, and it like takes itself seriously to a point, so you think it's better than it actually is. But when you start to analyze it, it's kind of falling apart. Yeah,
you're throwing out a lot of accurate statements against it. I mean, like, nothing you've said is just wrong. Like, I can understand why any of those things would bother you, and that makes sense.
Like, it didn't at first. Like, I watched it at first, I'm like, oh, okay, this was really interesting, but something was kind of, like, left with me. I'm like, I don't know, wait. And then I went back to it, and I started to refine a lot of things here.
Well, you know what? Fuck you! I enjoyed it!
Yeah, you can fucking boycott me and like create a bunch of fake accounts to leave shitty comments on my videos.
It's fair. I've hated ones that you liked more. Well, not hated, I guess. I've made fun of ones more than you've been. Like, there have been times where I've hated something. I'm not making
fun of it. Like, I did like a lot about this. I thought the portrayal of Eddie Brock was pretty damn spot on, because, like, I've talked about this before, but just for shits and grins. So, my ideal way to write Eddie Brock is to foil him with Peter Parker, because Peter Parker is a character, and this film does it to a certain extent. Peter Parker is a character who, you know, his whole thing is learning to accept responsibility, yada yada, and that's a very important lesson for teenagers to learn, because they're teenagers that just, you know, don't understand that they have to take responsibility for their actions. But then there are also teenagers that don't understand when something's just out of their hands, and they take too much responsibility. They carry the weight of the world on their shoulders. They get way too invested and blame themselves for everything. And I feel like it's an important lesson for Peter Parker to learn, not that he doesn't have to take the responsibility of everything in the world, and I think Eddie Brock is a really good character to do that with, because he's a character that doesn't take responsibility for anything he does. Anytime something bad happens to him, it's always someone else's fault. He never had any, like, there's nothing that he did wrong. And so I think an interesting parallel between those two would be to teach Peter a lesson about when you don't have to take responsibility for things by showing him someone who clearly is responsible for their lot in life but refuses to accept that. I think there are interesting things to do. And this is a portrayal of Eddie Brock that's kind of like that. He's kind of just, I take responsibility for the Sin Eater thing, but I'm just doing this now. Like, he clearly doesn't buy that. He clearly thinks he got a bad hand or something, or he didn't deserve that. He's full of shit and still self-confident as hell, and even though he doesn't deserve it. And so he thinks that he has a chance at redemption and to be taken seriously as a journalist again. I think that's in here. So I really, really like this portrayal, and the actor did a just fantastic job of doing it, too.
Agreed.
I guess I can say this. My favorite Eddie Brock we've ever had on screen, and that includes animation.
It's a great job.
Yeah. Some of the other stuff I liked the way the Venom reveal happened. It was nice and, like, built up to it. I really liked that about it. You know, the whole we see him talking to himself. And importantly, he says the term we. No, we could trust him. And then he sees that they're watching him and closes the door and opens it real quick and is in his full suit. I really liked that. That was a nice touch of what the Venom symbiote is capable of doing, because there's comics where Eddie just thinks of a suit and he's suddenly wearing it. That was a cool touch, and the way he just lures him into the room, then locks the door, and then kind of I love the way he, like, throws up the symbiote.
Yeah, that looks
and
so freaking cool. That was awesome.
Yeah, that part I liked. It was when, like, the tendrils were going across the room or whatever. That part I didn't care for. When it's up close with the mouth, I thought that was kind of a bad decision, but it still looked pretty good for the way that they were making the film look like shit.
Yeah.
Like, I would have figured if you're going to do the mouth open and everything, you should just give it distance and a little bit of silhouette to hide it. They didn't do that. They put it nice up and close. I'm like, oh, it looks pretty good overall. I guess I would prefer, like, seeing the mouth as him just opening his mouth and, like, you know, biting into someone, as opposed to just kind of showing off for the camera for a few seconds.
Yeah, I was impressed by how much I liked the way the Venom that Venom looked at the end, because I was not expecting to think it. I thought it was going to look absolutely terrible, so I was kind of actually pleased with how it looked in the end.
Yeah, I just wish it had the white spider thing on it.
Yeah, that's fair.
It's just, you know, Venom and it is, like, a Spider-Man villain. Like, even if they do stuff with him, he's still a Spider-Man character through and through, and that's a big part of his design, so I wish they'd kept that. I liked how the suit overall looked, though. It kind of just looked like body paint, but, like, just a little, like there was still something on it, and that's what I really liked about it. So I thought that looked pretty good. It didn't look like the dude just, you know, jumped in a bucket of black paint or anything, so that was cool.
That'd suck. If you had to jump into the black paint, that'd be horrible.
There's an episode of Star Trek The Next Generation where Jonathan Frakes, who plays Riker, he gets, like, pulled into this just pool of, like, Vaseline and black printer ink, and he comes out of it. It's just, like, he looks absolutely disgusting, and someone pulls him to the side. I was like, I never would have done that. So, they didn't do that, I hope. So that was... Otherwise, no, I quite liked those aspects. The bullseye scene was cool. It didn't mean anything. but it was cool to look at, I guess.
Most certainly.
Yeah. Do you have anything else you wanted to talk about with this one? Oh wait, we can talk about the soundtrack.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. You start us off then.
I don't know. I was just gonna say the ways it was integrated, like the inconsistency of like being edited in sometimes versus not. You're right about all of that. I really liked the song choices though, because for some reason it just made me laugh the whole time I'm listening to the songs and I'm watching the stuff and I'm just like, this is funny.
Freeze frame.
Yeah, I liked it. I thought it was cool.
Yeah, I like the song choices too. That it was really neat to set, like, even though Eddie Brock is a character who was introduced in the 90s, Venom was a character that came from the 90s, something just feels right about putting him in the 80s.
Yeah.
As like a sleazy yellow journalist kind of thing. I really like that, and the song choices, just everything they did to ground it in the 80s. Like, not just the music, but the clothing, too. I thought that looked fantastic. I thought that just worked really well, ignoring the fact that it's inconsistently cut in. No, the song choices were great. I love the freeze frame bit. That was really cool.
Yeah.
The KB Toys reference was neat, too. That was fun. You're probably too young for KB Toys, aren't you?
No, I'm not.
Oh, okay.
Almost. I'm almost too young.
Alright, I was about to say, back in my day, there was a KB Toys chain across the country. Yeah, I don't know. I thought that was all the 80s stuff was really cool, and the music choices were fantastically put in there. I looked for a cover of Freeze Frame for this episode, but I couldn't find anything, so we're just going to go with the Spider-Man cover. Anything else you wanted to talk about with this?
Not really. I actually don't have that much to say. You pretty much covered any sort of critique that you could possibly throw at this, I feel like.
Yeah, I'm curious though, did like you say you enjoyed this the most out of everything we've watched. Did my like problems that I brought up with it like diminish it in any way for you, or do you still really like it?
I still like it, but I do think that some of the stuff you throw in it, I don't think it's necessarily the best thing we've seen. I was maybe going to say that this might have been the best thing we've seen, but after what you've said about it, it's definitely not. I still think that probably goes to the Dragon Ball fan film. But I still really like the approach that they took, so there's still a lot here that I really like.
Yeah, I thought it was a daring choice of visual style and stuff to like put it in not just black and white, but like a really shitty aspect ratio.
Yeah.
Put a bunch of fucking noise on it. It just like it really did work. It gave it a really nice, unique flavor, and I did like a lot of the stylistic choices about that too. So yeah, I like things about it. I just think that it could use some more screw tightening, as it were. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to ratings. Let's have you do 2 ratings, because I'm curious. What would your rating have been before we talked about this, and what is it now?
Okay, so do you want my scores for just my personal enjoyment, or like the quality of it?
Let's go quality, because I feel like you still really enjoy it, but I'm more curious about what your original thoughts on objective quality are versus now.
Okay, so like, before we had discussed, I was probably going to wind up giving it, like, maybe a 4.5, honestly. And then, now I'd say I'd probably have to give it a 3.5 is probably where I'd wind up I'd probably wind up at like about a 3.5 with this. A 3.5 black puke splashes out of 5.
Okay, I'm gonna go slightly lower than you. I'm tempted to put it at a 2.5, which is just average, but I liked enough of the choices, and I really, really liked the performance enough. Then I'm going to bump it up to a 3. I'm going to give this 3 out of 5 KB Toys police badges that actually fool police.
That was so funny.
Yeah, that was pretty good. Yeah, I was this is one of those things where, like, I feel like the more you watch it, not necessarily the more you watch it, but the more you think about it, the more it breaks down, and that's always unfortunate. But no, I was fairly impressed with this overall. Like, that's a good 3, if that makes sense. Okay, next week, I don't know what's gonna happen next week, because the franchise I'm going to has some of the most, like, diverse quality of fan work you will ever find in a franchise. Some of it's amazing, and some of it is garbage. And I've watched only one fan film in this franchise that was anywhere near passably good. And this is not that. This is one that I've not seen. I only watched about a minute of it. Now, have I got you on the edge of your seat enough, Rasco?
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay.
Take me.
Is your body ready?
Take me.
There was your first hit. Okay. We're going to talk about the Sonic prologue film.
Whoa! We're going Sonic.
Going supersonic. Yeah. Force that pun.
Shit.
Yeah, this should be one hell of a ride, because I have no idea what the quality of this is. I watched about 30 seconds. It's fully animated. I watched about 30 seconds just to see what I thought of the animation, to see if it would be worthwhile, because if it was garbage animation, I wasn't going to give it a shot. But the animation looked pretty good, just from the first couple seconds. So we'll see how this goes. Oh
Oh my god.
I have no idea what we're going to watch. I have no idea, because it's going to be either really surprisingly good or just complete crap.
I'm hoping for Green Lantern Endgame. That's what I'm hoping for in quality.
Oh, don't say that.
I'm hoping we get... I hope we get something along the lines of that.
I looked through its comments, and it had a lot of positive feedback, so we'll see what happens here. Yeah, alright, everyone, thank you very much for watching. Until next time, I'm the Philosopher.
And I'm the Squampus.
And we are your Geeky Gentlemen. And we will be discussing things.